You ready for another chapter of Lemons? We ended off, do you guys remember what was happening last week? It was pretty exciting about how Tobin's dad is kind of back, and now Charlie and everybody knows. But at the end of the last chapter, they were talking to, what's his name? I'm just trying to find it here. Mr. Harold. And Mr. Harold was like, oh yeah, I heard about that. But what I was calling about wasn't about Tobin's dad coming back. It was actually about the Bigfoot. So then, that's how the chapter ended. And we're back on to chapter 50 called Operation Solo Investigation. But, Mr. Harold, I say, after swallowing an icy sip of my RC Cola on the top step of his porch after lunch with Charlie. The mystery was solved. It wasn't a Bigfoot at all. It was Tobin's dad the whole time. He told the doctors he's been living in the woods for a year. Mr. Harold takes a deep breath and wipes the back of his neck with his red bandana. I know it, he says, but that doesn't explain what I saw out in the woods before, or what I saw again today. What did you see? Well, I was tending to another part of the fence in the pasture, and there was that smell, you know, that same skunk smell, strong too. And just when I was thinking maybe it wasn't a skunk, that's when the first rock hit me in the back. Just like before? Yep, and then another one. Another one, I say, and I take a long drink. That's when I stood up and turned around, he tells me, and I saw them. My cola goes down the wrong pipe, and I choke. My eyes fill up, and I cough and sputter and spray cola everywhere. Mr. Harold smacks my back a couple of times until I stop coughing. Them? I gasp for air. What do you mean, them? I mean, there were two of them. A big one and a little one. Just like the footprints we found in Bluff Creek. The two of them were hiding behind tree trunks in the woods just past the fence. So I couldn't exactly see them clearly. Maybe there were more, but I can tell you I saw two Bigfoot-type shapes. Then what happened, I ask, kicking myself for not bringing a notepad to write down the details. I'm never going to hear the end of that one. The bigger one growled, that same growl where the ground shook underneath me, and then threw one more stone that missed me. And then the two of them ran off. I could see that reddish-brown fur for a while, but they dodged around the tree so fast it wasn't but a minute until I couldn't see them anymore. This is unbelievable, I say. He nods in agreement. I guess I thought the mystery had been solved. I mean, yeah, you're probably right. Of course you're right. Maybe it was just a grizzly and a cub, Mr. Harold says, already talking himself out of it. Or maybe another war veteran with battle fatigue. Or another guy down in his luck living in the forest out there. Or, I say, maybe it wasn't any of those. At least I remember the Polaroid and a Twinkie, because Bigfoot hunting is hungry work. It was already squished with the filling smeared on the plastic, but I've learned to live with a squished Twinkie now and again. I catch a ride out to the pasture behind Mr. Harold on Cimarron's back. Mr. Harold steers the horse right to the part of the fence where he saw the two Bigfoot this morning. I talked to Charlie earlier, and he said he'd be on his way as soon as he's closed up shop. Sure you don't want to wait? Mr. Harold asks, helping me down. Mr. Harold, I am a professional, I assure him, puffing out my chest to show him my official badge with the clumped up Elmer's glue. Ah, well, yes, of course. Whatever, or whoever it was, is gone now. But there must be some evidence left out there somewhere. If you need anything, I'll be right here working on the fence. You just holler, and don't go too far either. Okay, I say, I won't. And how about a whoop now and again, just so I know everything's okay, he asks. Sure, I smile. I'll whoop you every 5 minutes. Thanks. He stands up real straight, then salutes me. Good luck, Bigfoot hunter. I salute him back and take another deep breath before I climb over the fence. Over the fence and on my way to my very first solo Bigfoot investigation. I adjust the neck strap of the camera and then take one more look back at Mr. Harold. He's watching me. It'll be okay, I assure him again. I know what I'm doing. He smiles. Oh, yep, I know it. He calls after me. I'll give you a shout once Charlie's here. Just remember the whoop until then. I will, I say. Then I begin my journey. A journey to find a Bigfoot. Oh, I really want to know what happens. Let's just keep going for a little bit. Chapter 51. Skunk, Stink, and 10 Crooked Toenails. Whoop! That was number 13. And 13 whoops times every 5 minutes is exactly 1 hour and 5 minutes that I've been searching with nothing to show for it. I heard Mr. Harold's muffled whoop back through the trees. I sigh. I miss Tobin. Tobin and his endless Bigfoot details and eye rolling and his aversion to Twinkies. Being a solo expeditioner isn't all it's cracked up to be. When I get hot and feel like a rest, I crawl under the shade of a large pine. The trunk is wider than me, with both arms straight out at my sides. Oh my gosh, it must be a really wide trunk. And the bottom row of needles is nearly 3 feet from the ground. I sit cross-legged and dig the Twinkie out of my pocket. It's pancake squish now after being in my shorts for so long. I carefully peel the plastic off the cake, listening to the sounds of the forest. It's kind of like the city, except not at all. Instead of honking horns, birds sing. Instead of bustling feet, crickets chirp. Instead of Miss K practicing for the opera, mosquitoes buzz. And instead of smelling like Mr. Chin's glorious crispy fried egg rolls, it smells like pine and moss and dirt and grass and skunk. Actually, wet skunk. Wait, skunk? I stop chewing and hold my breath. Birds sing, crickets chirp, mosquitoes buzz. And a twig snaps, and branches swing, and footsteps stomp. And there's skunk stink, strong skunk stink, that's getting worse and worse by the second. I hold my nose and I breathe out of my mouth. Maybe it's Mr. Harold again, coming to search for me? Maybe I forgot to whoop enough? That's it. It's gotta be Mr. Harold. He was so worried about me going alone. Whoop! I call between cupped hands. Whoop! I hear from way back at the fence post. Uh-oh. Then I hear that howl. The same one we heard in the tent the night we stayed out in Mr. Harold's yard. Woo! The sound makes me jump so high I almost drop my Twinkie in the dirt. I sit, frozen, waiting, watching, worrying, wishing Tobin was here sitting next to me. And that's when I see feet. Reddish brown feet. Furry feet. Just past the corner of the bottom bough of the thick pine. Great big bare feet with actual toes and black crooked toenails. All 10 toes stop in front of me. And the rest of whatever belongs to the feet crouches down and peers at me under the pine branch. It's not Mr. Harold. It's not a man either. It's not even human. End of chapter. Oh man. Whew. What do you think it is? It's so exciting. Oh, she's all alone. She must be feeling, I don't know, well, I guess she was saying she's feeling worried perhaps. She's saying waiting, watching, worrying. Probably kind of excited, but like, oh, that'd be so scary to see something that, well, we don't really know what it is yet. Do we assume that it's Bigfoot? Oh, this is so exciting. But we'll have to wait until next time to see what happens. So until then, have a good day.